So on 8.1, we're going to start modeling inverse and joint variation. Today we're going to focus on inverse, tomorrow we'll focus on joint variation. When something has inverse function, when it's an inverse variation, okay, it is in the form of y equals a over x. This a is your constant term, okay, meaning it's like a number, okay, 6, -12, 3.5, okay, it's my constant term, it doesn't have a variable with it. So when it is an inverse variation, it's in the form y equals a over x. Meaning, if I can get it into that form, y equals a over x, I have inverse function. Okay? If when y is set equal to the rest of the equation, if it equals a over x, then you have inverse function, or inverse variation. Okay? So we're going to talk about how we go about that, and we're going to do some problems with that. Okay, so we want to classify direct and inverse variation, or if it's neither, okay? So on this first one, what do I need to do to see if this is an inverse variation or a direct variation or neither? What do I need to do first? I always need to get the equations into what form? Anybody? What form do you need to get equations into? No, I'm gonna see if it's inverse, if it's direct, or if it's neither. In order to do that, all of my equations always have to say this equals what? What do I always wanna get equations into, period, whether I'm graphing or doing anything? What form? Guys, it's not hard. No. We don't know that this is a line, we don't know if it's whatever. What is slope form? What form is it in technically? What does it say? Y equals. Every equation needs to be put into y equals before you can decide what it is. How do I get the first equation into y equals? I don't get. Okay, so let's divide by x. When I divide by x, that cancels and you get y equals 7 over x. Is that direct, inverse, or neither? For variation, is it direct, inverse, or neither? It'd be inverse because it's in the form y equals my constant over my x. So this is inverse variation. Okay. Now, this is already in y equals. It's y equals x plus 3. Is that inverse variation?
Can we just put like IV and DV?
Yes. Is this inverse variation? No. Is it direct variation?
Direct.
Well, talk to me first. What do you know about this? What type of function is this?
Y equal, it's kind of Y, it's kind of like slope, but.
And it's y equals mx plus b.
Yeah.
Is that direct or inverse? Have we ever used that term with them? No. So this is neither. It's a linear function. So it's not direct or inverse. Now, what do we have to do to this to get it into what I need? On part C, I have y divided by 4 equals x. What do I need to do first to see what it is?
Multiply by 4.
Yep, multiply both sides by 4. Good. So I multiply this side by 4, multiply this side by 4, right? And you get y equals 4x, okay? Is this inverse variation? No. This is what we call direct variation. Here's why. When there is multiplication happening between your constant and your x, it's direct variation. When there is something added or subtracted to this, it's neither. This is direct because it's just an x with a constant, okay? So this is direct variation. So you're gonna have to classify on your homework some tonight. Okay? Then you're gonna get problems that say stuff like this. The variables x and y vary inversely. X and y vary inversely. Okay? Meaning, if they vary inversely, they're in this form. Okay? They vary inversely, and they, and y equals 7, x equals 4. Okay? And then it says, write an equation that relates x and y, then find y when x equals 2. Write an equation when x, write an equation that relates x and y. Then solve when x equals -2. Okay, so if we know that they vary inversely, that means we know we have an equation of y equals a over x, correct? Okay? Does that make sense so far? Okay. Now, at the beginning, they tell us that what y and x equal. What do they equal?
7, 4.
So I'm gonna plug that in. 7 equals a over 4, okay? Because what I need to do is, I need to figure out what a is. How can I figure out what a is from here? Multiply by 4. Okay, cancels. What's 7 times 4?
28.
20 what? 28. So 28 equals a. Okay. Now, I'm going to plug this into this equation. Okay, I'm gonna plug it in. So that I get y equals 28 over x. That's step 1. I wrote an equation that relates x and y. Okay? There are always going to be 2 answers to these when you do them on your homework and your quiz and your test. Okay? So this was step 1. That relates x and y. Now it tells me, then solve when x equals -2. So what am I going to do?
Just put.
Plug in -2.
Yeah, so I'm going to do 28 divided by -2. What's 28 divided by -2?
-14.
-14. So those are your 2 answers right there, the equation and the physical answer of what y is. Okay? We're gonna do a word problem, and then I'm going to give you homework, because tomorrow, like I said, we will do joint variation. This is inverse variation.
I feel like we have like an easy lesson and then a hard lesson, and then an easy lesson,
And then a hard one. Okay, this is like a really old book, so it talks about MP3 players. It says MP3 players, the number of songs that can be stored on an MP3 player varies inversely with the average size of a song. Okay, so depending on how big the song is, depends on how many the player can hold. Makes sense, okay? A certain MP3 player can store 2,500 songs when the average size of a song is 4 megabytes. Write a model that gives the number in of songs that will fit on an MP3 player as a function of the average song size S. Okay? So instead of X and Y, we want to do number of songs, or number over how many songs it can hold, right? So instead of X and Y, they're basically saying N equals A over S. Okay? Now, it said that N stands for the number of songs, where S stands for the megabytes. Okay? And originally it told us the MP3 player can store 2,500 songs when the average size of a song is 4 megabytes. So where do I put 2,500 and where do I put 4?
The N is gonna be 2,500.
Yep, N is 2,500. And then I have equals A over 4. So to solve for A, I simply multiply. What's 4 times 2,500? That should be easy. What's 4 times 25? Yeah. Is it 100,000? No, it's just 10,000. It's just 10,000. So 10,000 equals A. What am I gonna do with this now?
Plug it back in.
Plug it back into this equation. So N equals 10,000 over S. And of course, they're gonna give us another size. Then it says, make a table showing the number of songs that will fit on the MP3 player if the average size of a song is 2, 2.5, 3, and 5.
Make a table.
So you have a song that's 2, 2.5, 3, and 5. Yeah, a table like this,
Oh.
right? And this would represent my X, and this would represent my Y, because S is X, N is Y. Direct variation, or inverse variation. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so if I do 10,000 divided by 2, what's 10,000 divided by 2? What's 10 divided by 2? So 5,000, yes? Okay, so you're just plugging all of these in. 10,000 over 2 equals N. Okay, then N equals 10,000 divided by 2.5. If you do 10,000 divided by 2.5, you get 4,000. Okay, and then you're gonna do 10,000 divided by 3. So once you have your equation, it's really simple. 10,000 divided by 3 is 33, or 3,333.3 repeated. So in a third. And then you do N equals 10,000 divided by 5, which would give you 2,000. Okay, and that's what they want. They just want to see what the input and output would be. Okay, what happens to the numbers of the songs as the average song size increases?
You get less of the song.
It gets less songs. That's an inverse function. Okay, because what happens to Y depends on what you put into X. So it's an inverse function. That's where we're stopping today. Tomorrow we will do joint variation.